Samech Tes, Dalid Elul, Samech Tes, page A.
Right, so we saw the Indian of Rosh Hashanah, the Indian of Rosh Hashanah Be'atzmai was the Gilui of Sheresh Mokeh HaMalchus, how it is in Shosh HaMakir HaRishon, B'chinas Reimanas HaMalchus. And we saw that was the Indian from Keser, Shebekesser, or in Mokeh HaRishon we saw that was Pnimis V'atzmius Ein Tzei. V'agilui yeh al kol yesh v'teva atzalcha. We saw that the Indian of Teva was an expression for the world, Shutei, Mamash Lamata. And we saw that the Purish Bazeh was that once the Yisgalus is from the Mokeh Ha'atzmi V'Amiti, then it goes to all the Madrigas, Afila Madrigas, Ataktenas B'Yeser. It reaches Mitzad the Hevdol Ha'erech. Since it's so completely and utterly Ein Arech, like all the Madrigas, and therefore it's able to be Yered or Miskala to all the levels Afila Taktias or Asiyah, Afila Madrigas Aki Taktenas. And so we bought from Lakutei Torah, the altar, the Maimon of the Alter Rebbe, Pasha Bamidbar, where he quotes the pasuk from Mishlei, where the Torah declares and the Torah says about itself, that it was like literally the plaything of the Eibishter even before the whole Brias Ha'olam. Like the Medrash says that the Torah came into being Alpayim Shana. Rashi brings it over there in that beer on the pasuk in Mishlei, in reference to that series of psukim, that the Torah was primordial to the Olam, Alpayim Shana. And so the Torah literally was the play child, as you might call it, the Omen of the Eibishter. But that's indicative that the Oineg and the Taineg what the Eibishter has in the Inyan from Torah. And particularly how it's later going to be Miskala in the world and in the Inyan from Dira B'Taktenim. And Misacheches B'Tevel, outside the Torah then brought that Tainu down into the Inyan from Afila Tevel, outside, meaning Afila into the Inyan from the world. B'Pashtas, and we quote it, but he brings over there that the Inyan from Tevel, the word Tevel is B'Gematria based Pomim Ariyeh, but that's the Pnei Ariyeh Sheba Merkova Ha'elyoina, and we saw that the two Madrigas is for the two different levels. What the Rebbe quotes here, the Inyan from Srofim, and the Lashon of the Alter Rebbe over there, and the Maimon is Chayes. And then there's another Pnei Ariyah in the Merkava, which is a Sheresh of Ashpah, to the lower level of the Malachim, who are Shaykh to Elam Asiyah, but they're the Malachim in Elam Asiyah, and they're called Asiyah Haruchnias, but they're called Oifanim. Or Bavida, or that second Madriga, particularly the Inyan of the Pnei Ariyah, is mashpia into the Malachim in Elam Asiyah, which are called Oifanim, who Misha ibn Avedus Hashem, by the Oven Lamata, then that is Misha who Rak B'Pchinas Haidoa Lavad. And it's one on it. The Ifanim, the Ika Aveda Baizei, is also a Inyan of Haidoa, because the Malachim are in Elam Abriya, where the Srofim, they're shy to high Madrigas in Hasoga and in Yediyah Elokis. And the Chayas HaKodesh also, the Alter Rebbe's mother, they also have a Yediyah in Elokus. But either the Ifanim in Elam Asiyah, they don't have such a big Yediyah in Elokus, and their Rash, and we say every day, Vafanim B'Chayas HaKodesh B'Rash Godel. We say that in davening every morning. The fact that they make a Rash is that stuff can be to the fact that they don't have so much the Inyan of Asoga and they are aroused by the greatness of Elokus without really knowing a great deal of the idea proteus in Elokus. So when you know about the greatness of something, but you don't really know it in detail, then you're in a state of Rash. Then you praise it and make a whole inyan out of it, even from Rash. And so therefore, the Oifanim, the Ika Rash, what we talk about in Birchas Krishma, in Tefillah, comes from the Oifanim. And so the Mitzad Echad, that's a Loma Dreke, which indicates admittance and acceptance more than knowledge and understanding. However, there's a certain mila in that Aveda, which is brought down in other places, that particularly in the Tekufa prior to the coming of Moshiach, there's a whole beer from the Friedrich Rebbe and Samech Tes, when I get to that. And also from the Rebbe Marash, one of the famous Sheikhim, that prior to the coming of Moshiach, everything will be below. He's so low. But we already seen that, and we don't have any explanation for that. Therefore, the Ika Haveda in the Zmani Mahim will be the Indian from Haidoa, like Bittul and admittance without the greatness of Asoga was there in the previous generation. So the Oifanim are indicatory of that type of Aveda Klolis, that is by the Malachim. In other words, that they don't have great knowledge, but they have this tremendous awareness of the greatness of the Eibishter without knowing a great deal about it, and therefore they're excited in a state of Rash. Of a Bepnimius, Anakuda Shalahem, Shahuinin or Haidoa, that's a very important Nakuda, very basic and important Indian, and therefore they're called Oifanim. What Oifan means a wheel. And so there's a mile in a wheel that it gets places. How they call it? A wheel is a thing which transports things from one place to the other. And the Indian of a wheel is also a makif. It's how they call it? It's a circular object which has really no beginning and no end. It has really no high point and no low point. It's all one and the same point, one and the same distance from the point. I may put it that way. That's what a wheel is. Therefore, that's indicatory that the Pnimius Aveda from the Eifanim, even though it's only Ayin Shel Chaydoah Buvad, and it's not to be matched or in any way to the Aveda of the highest, and how much more to the Srofim, nonetheless there's a certain great mila in that Inyan of Chaydoah, which comes from the Makif Shebenefesh, and is indicatory of the ability to get things done. But that's what we see in the Hemshech Posiv Agani, right near the end of the whole last section. The famous Hemshech Posiv Agani, the Rebbe, the Rayatz, is masber over there the greatness of the Aveda B'Pinus Neitach, the Indian for victory and so on. And Hoid and Neitach are very closely connected, one with the idea. And Dafki, they are the simple soldiers, but Dafki through them is able to carry out the aims of victory in the Mulchama with the whole Richas Ainian and Kamua over there, Barichas in the Hemshech Abasila Lagani. So that's the Indian, what they are, the Oifanim, their Avedas Indian from Haidoa Levad. And they are Dafki Klid, and in them can be Meir, the Shorosh Indian from Malchus. In other words, since it's made at such a high atzmistic level, then it's no longer how bright you are and how great you are in your level of Aveda that you can be makabel that. Everybody's makabel. And on the contrary, the simpler and more Mesiras Nefesh, more bottled the Aveda is, then the more it's a kli to that gila. Therefore he says, therefore the Rebbe puts in that sentence, after mentioning the lower level of the Malachim, which are makabel from a lower level in Pnei Adiyah, he says that their Aveda is in from Haidoa, as Sham is Meir, the Shorosh in from Malchus. Kasher Meir b'chinas Malchus, k'may shehi b'chinas Atzmas, Agilu b'chol Madreges, it'll be there in all levels, Afilu Hayes Atach Toinais, it'll be everywhere, in all Madreges, Afilu Lamata Mata, Bezeha, Oilam Agashmi, and that's what we say in the Musaf of Yom of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, עד שוידע כל פה כי אתו pi alde. Yeah, well, I think not only in Musa but I feel in Shachas, I think if we say that one, that every made thing, every pa'ul, everything which has been made by you, he will know that you are the one who made him. Yeda kol pa'ul ki ato pi alte. Shezehu hefech inen habriya. Says the Rebbe, that's the opposite of the whole inen that we described earlier in the Bria of Yisavus. Derech yesh mi'ayin, what we saw that was B'chinas Helem V'Esther, Aboira Miha, Anivra Canal. And Adidei the Helem V'Esther, then the yesh doesn't feel his source, he doesn't have any appreciation or knowledge in the source from whence he came, Kemat B'Klau. Therefore it's possible for a mensch to live in the world without him really knowing Elakus or Pri, what that's Mitzad the Helem V'Esther, the Boire Mi Anivra Adidei the Yisavus yesh mi'ayin. So if we say that even somebody did his whole mile is that he's a pa'ul, that he was made by the Eibishter, and that's what he is, nonetheless he will come to know ki ator, he will know that Atzmus Ein Sof made him and brought him into being, and he will know that. And it's well known the word yedas from Loshen das, but that means hargosha pinimiyas, a idea pinimiyas and hargosha pinimiyas. Well, that's the heipach of the whole inyan of Bria Yesh Mi Ayin that we discussed before, which is the Helem V'Esther Aboira Me'anivra Canal. V'alidei Agilui the Rosh Hashanah Yeda V'Yargish Kol Paul, that he will come to know and he will feel. In other words, he'll be aware. Yargish means to sense and to be aware of. Even Kol Paul Ki Ato Pi Alte B'chinas Mahus V'Atzmus Mekoyer HaMahave, that he will know the very essence and the etzem of the Eibishter, who is the Moker HaMahave, that he will know that even though he's down here in this world and he's a Pa'ul, he's been made in a sense of Pa'ul Gashmias, and he's a Adam Gashmi here in the world, he will know Ki Ator, he will be aware of and he will sense Atzmus Ein Sof is his Moker HaMahave, and he will know that in a raven from Yargish. Not only he will know it b'seichel, but he will feel it, and he will be, as it were, taken over by that knowledge in a way that he'll feel it in his very being. But that's a lashon Yeda Yargish. And what will he know? He'll know Atzmus Mekoyer HaMahave, the very essence of the Moker who was Mahave him, what that is, Malchus, and in Atzmus, that's the Pnimis V'Atzmus Ein Sof. V'Yovin Kol Yitzur. So we go further over there in the davening. Not only we say Yeda Kol Po Ki Ato Pi Altoi, but we also say V'Yovin Kol Yitzur. Yeah, and every made or shaped being will come to understand Ki Ato Yitzar Toi, that he will know that also his Yitzira and his shaping also comes from Ato, from Atzmus Ein Sof. She'iyeh b'chinas hasogas hamahus chulu. In other words, the second part of it is madgish, that not only it will be Yeda, what Yeda is more shad to the chush of Hargosha, that therefore the Rebbe uses the expression Yeda v'Yargish, he will know and he will sense and feel in his being. But in the next piece, the immediate sentence after that, we say Yovin Kol Yitzur. Every created or shaped being will know that Ato Yitzartoi. We have to say that that's a more detailed statement, because the word Yovin means understanding. Yovin means appreciation of the Seichel, and a Yitzur is somebody that already has a more elevated shape in him. He's not just a Paul, he's not just a made thing, but he's already got a certain milas about him. He's already shaped, as you might say. He will be able to understand and appreciate in Seichel Ki Ato Yitzartoi, because he will reach the Madrega Vasogas HaMahus. Right? He will know and appreciate the very essence of Elakut. What that's well known, and Mefurusam, that's a very, very high Madrega that we don't have even in simple things. Even in Dvarim Gashmiyim, we don't really have a hasoga at the etzem mahus of the Gashmi. We just know the Metzias. And we know about what's called the Metzias of the mahus. We know that it has a essence, an essential being, not just what we observe. But we don't really know what that mahus is. It's hard for us to appreciate. Essence, mahu, of anything. How much more so in spiritual things. We know, for example, that we have a nefesh, and we have a certain knowledge in the metzius, how do you call it, the entity of the existence of our nefesh. But in the mahus of our nefesh, we don't have any hasoga at all. I feel not in the metzius of the mahus. It's brought down in citizens. Maybe some people who are very elevated, they have an appreciation in what's called the metzius of the mahus. So they know a little bit about the existing entity of the mahus. Of the mahus, ha-mahus, the very essence of the essence that nobody knows. Nobody has a hasoga in the very etzem of the essence of anything ruchniyas. And even in gashmiyas, as we pointed out, we only have a knowledge of the metzius of the mahus, but not the mahus ha-mahus. Not the mahus ha-mahus. Ve'ilul liyosid lovei, then the hasoga is going to be even in Elikus, which is even more than ruchnias, even in divinity, mamish, we're going to have a hasoga in the very essence. It's going to be hasoga sama mahus be'elikus. So that's already nirmas in the statement Yovin kol yitzur ki ato yitzar toi. That the inifat ato indicates the essence of Elikus, the essence of the Eibishter. So he's going to have a hasoga, feel in mahus Elikus. But that's an unbelievable shinui, an unbelievable change in the whole seder of the inyan of hasoga ki yadua. But the Moshe Kosev b'moki macher the liosid yeh hasogas v'hargoshes hama mahus, the liosid, meaning after the Gula Shlema, and certainly after certain periods in the Gula Shlema, then all yin will be zeichet to have a hasoga and a feeling. They'll be able to be margish. It'll come down into hargosha and midas in their very being of the mahus of Elikus, of the very essence of Elikus. But that's a dover nifla. What ein lanu koyak to be matayeh, how it's going to be. We can't really imagine in ourselves what it's going to be like to have sogas hamahus, because we don't even have a sogas hamatzias in a good way in Elikus. How much more so the Indian sogas hamahus? All we know is that there is such a thing as Elikus. Our mamish any hasoga in how Elikus is, we don't really have. So we don't really have. The truth is, even Emersa Sogas Amatzias we don't have in Elikus. How much more so a higher level, which would in any way border on the inyan of Mahus, and the Yossi that's going to be the inyan from Gilui Mahus Mamish in Hasoga and Haragosha, meaning not only the mensch will grasp it, but he also bring it into his midas, believe, and he will feel it, and he will have a chayis mitzad haragosha in the inyan of the very essence of Elikus. And we see that every Rosh Hashanah would pray to the Eibush, and we say to him, what are we talking about? So we have to say that we're talking on two oifanim, or two levels. On the one hand, we're saying that that's the ultimate tachlis, the ultimate point of the whole creation, and so we're saying to the Eivishter, no, let's get moving, let's reach the inyan from the Yosid as quick as possible. But that's the inyan of we want Mashiach now. And so that's its mamela moving, the whole connection of the shofar, and the inyan from Tkiyah shofar on Rosh Hashanah to the inyan of the Tkiyah shofar the Yosid. When Mashiach will come, there's going to be the shofar Godel, not just Stam shofar, not just Stam shofar Godel, but shofar HaGodel, B'Yosa, the great shofar that the Eibush himself is going to blow, V'Shas Liyosid, V'Yemot, that the whole world will be woken up by the Tkiyas HaSheva and everything will alter in a tremendously essential way. That's the union of understanding, even the union of Mahus. What are you doing davening that nowadays? Mashiach hasn't come yet. We still correct davening and such in Yonim. Elamai is a similar. That's the embassy for Rosh Hashanah. That's the bakosha, and that's the taviyah that we have to the Eibush on Rosh Hashanah. That immediately, because we say vayei the kopal, we mean it now. That's what we assume has to happen. Abraham comes to said all the prayers on Rosh Hashanah really we want Moshiach now, and if you bite it carefully, then you'll see that is like we saw last night. We asked for Gilei Atzmis Lamata mit alle gute Sachen. It's a period that everybody just sits around and looks at me as if I was a Chaisvat. Then everybody cooked me on with the kalte Kuchen, es wird gewähnt. Had ich gehört, Cholila, I want to say what sort of Mishalim. He said, once upon a time, guys would have gone out the window when they heard a thing like that. Or at least they would have stood up and walked around the room, or maybe gone and finished a dance in the middle or something. I'd have to sit them down. Now you're saying, yeah, to confirm.
Mashiach's already here.
No, there's two epics. As if Mashiach's already here, then let's get cracking. And so that's the whole union, and we're going to start blowing the Shofar Gota. Anyway, V'zeh Omar, and that's what we say. Well, as they come to us, this is the Pshat Aki Posher. So it follows that on Rosh Hashanah, which is a day to ask the Eibush, because he's starting everything all over again, and the prayers teach us that you have to be an intelligent asker. And if you already got an opportunity, you go back to Atzmas ain't safe. That's what happens on Rosh Hashanah. Then you have to ask what's the proper thing. You don't ask for the small fry, you ask for we want Moshiach now. Yeda kol pao ki ato pi alta. Yom kol yitzur ki ato yitzate. That's the Emerson Pakosha. What do you have to ask for in Rosh Hashanah? The Yetzim Minyan for the scholars, Moshiach and the scholars, Mahus Elakus Lamata.
This is we want Atzmus.
Huh?
That's saying we want Atzmus.
Yeah, that's what's going to be when the Chabadniks are going to drive around in the tanks and say, we don't want just Malchus and its Shurish Origin, we want Mamash Atzm. Good for you, my boy. No. Just let's get cracking. If we want Atzm, we've got to get cracking. I want to pretend. It's a double pillar, the whole thing. Mamash a pillar plus. How it's typed out here, it's Mamash a pillar plus. So that's that. And it'll be understood, it'll be moving. There's a famous statement in the Zohar Kodesh. The Zohar Kodesh says that you shouldn't be like a it sounds really mind-boggling, but as I state, you shouldn't be like a puppy. How do you call it? Like a small dog on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Yes, it's a small puppy. All he wants is milk. So they go around. They say, "Yeah, have you give me my panosa? Give me this. Give me." I mean, they should have given panosa. That's an undermile. I'm not saying that. They should give panosa. Or you shouldn't come on Rosh Hashanah. I did this. I need something. They stated the Zakot. And here we see it clearly. You're supposed to be asking for Yeda Kol Piyu with asking for Gilei Amahuz Elakus Lamata Mami Zayina from this color Elakus Lamata Atzmas says it was just the time for the other small fry with the other time and you have to go for the real Mahuz, how do you go for the real Mahuz, the real McCoy as they say, you have to go for the Emet. Remember, that's what's written here. Does state though. Is that what you got to? Well, at least I got a schmeichel out of a few people. That's what it's written in the Musaf. Zeh hayoim. What the Indian fin zeh means. Emerson Mahus Takli. Zeh is something that you can show. Zeh hayoim. The Rosh Hashanah Meir Venim Shepchina Zeh. Then on Rosh Hashanah, there's not only Meir, but it's Nimshach, it's brought down, Bechinas Zu, Shu Bechinas Gilui Hama, who? I mean, that's amazing. I mean, what the Rebbe does here with Rosh Hashanah, it just makes it to a whole India from Leoset Love. Huh?
Every Rosh Hashanah is being Meir.
Huh?
Every Rosh Hashanah.
Every Rosh Hashanah, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya and in Simon Gersa Kodesh Simon Yud Dalet that every Rosh Hashanah is a new word. Every Rosh Hashanah is a new word. It's never been before. At least they taught in Tanya. A new word. It's never been in the whole Seidish houses. Hardcore. Not only we're asking for that, we're asking for an Azayim that's never been before. And so there's indicative thing that you can point at. A different picture of Rosh Hashanah altogether. It's another. Why did our Rebbeim not speak and not do anything on Rosh Hashanah? Because they were too busy with it. Because they were bringing down after that's a bit of a job, you know. So they got cracking. That was the whole Inyan. V'lochein, here's an amazing nakuda. V'lochein, b'yom de Rosh Hashanah, gam halayla kayom yo year. He said, on the day of Rosh Hashanah, he said, therefore the night shines like the day. In other words, there's no real night at all on Rosh Hashanah. It's all like one long day. So, like is it there? It's Gila Elakuz. You can't talk about night. Night is Helium. There's no Helium. Reish Pasha Boy. Now the Ramaz, he was a famous Muferish of the Zohar Kodesh. He's called the Rabbeinu Moshe Zachusa, or Rabbeinu Moshe Zachutz, or Zachusa. And he lived in Amsterdam. He was in Europe, and he was from the very early Rabbanim in Europe that they were makabel from the Talmidei Arizal. In other words, he himself wasn't a Talmud of the Arizal, because the Arizal was in Otzor. But he was makabel from the Talmidei of the Arizal that they went to Europe. There was some of the Talmidei Arizal went to Italy, and some of them even went over to Amsterdam. And he learned from them, and he was an unbelievable Goen and genius, both Benigla Ubenista of Be'ikah. The main writings that we have from him are in Kabbalah. He wrote Be'ikah, even though he was a Rav in Amsterdam, he was a Poising, but he wrote Be'ikah, he wrote in Yonim in Kabbalah, and he wrote a Pirush al Kol HaZoyah. And that is brought down in the Likutei Torah and everywhere from the Rebbeim in a very authoritative way. He's like considered one of our basic sources for knowledge in the Pirush of the Zohar Kodesh. So therefore the Rebbe says that the Ramaz himself writes at the beginning, Reish Pasha Boy, at the beginning of the Pasha Boy, he writes a very fascinating thing. Be'inim Mashiach Shnei Yontov, the Rosh Hashanah, Kiyoma Arikta Domya. He said that what it's learned, that the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are like one long day. Now that's a lesson in the Gemara, in the Masechta Beita, and that's also it's brought down in Shulchan Aruch, Barichas. We'll soon maybe explain that in a little bit of detail, that it's well known that different to the other 2 days of other Yomim Tovim, the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah everywhere, including Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz, and for that matter even in Yerushalayim, are like one long day. They're not like one day and the other day is just a minhag or a sofik, but they're both like one long day. And that's a whole beginning in halacha, and we'll deal with that in a second. So the fact that the 2 days of Rosh Hashanah are like one long day, so the Ramaz writes over there, it was at the Taich, he said in Pnimius, he said that means that just like at the beginning of the Bria, after Shanivra Adam Harishon, after Adam Harishon was created, and when was he created? He was created on the Yom Vov Lamaisa Reishis, but that's when we make our Rosh Hashanah, as we've already seen. Shehimshik Adam Arishan was Megala in the world, Bechinas Gilu Hama Lucha, the Gilu the Malucha, meaning the Gilu the Shorosh Malucha, Ki Loi Hoyo Laila Beyim Ashabas Kodesh, Akamosh Kosu B'Medrash Rabbah. In other words, that on the first Shabbos that the world had, it's written by Yechul HaShamayim V'Oretz V'Chol Tzva'on, the Laila and the day of Shabbos were all day. There was no night. And as they state in the Medrash taught in different Lashonos, the Medrash says Masba over there that the Eibishter didn't take away the light of day on the night of Shabbos. And the whole of Shabbos night and the whole of Shabbos day was all one light from the Inyan of Oiro, as the Medrash calls it over there. And it was only on Moitzoy Shabbos that the night came back again. And Ad Karikat, or the Mauritian, got a fright from that because he got used to being in a state of all day, and all of a sudden he saw the night coming back. He thought maybe that was some punishment that was coming on him. But a whole big Arichas Advarim, which is brought over there in the Medrash Rabbah, that the first Shabbos was Kayim, Laila Kayim Yoeh. There was no time. Hamamela the Ramaz makes a cheshbon quite simply, and he says the first Shabbos was Rosh Hashanah. The first Shabbos was what we keep Rosh Hashanah, Yom Vov Lamai Praise. That's when Adam Arishan was created. So he was created on Yom Vov, but it ran into the Shabbos, it ran into Yom HaShavi in a way that it never got dark, never got light. So he says, Imkin, if that's the case, just like it was then, that every Rosh Hashanah there's a Gilui Azamin, that really, but Pinimis are Indian, it's like one long day, and there's no real darkness. In other words, that it's all Gilui Elakus Mipchinas Zeh, and Zeh is the Indian of Gilui Amahut. So that's what he writes in Ramaz. He said, Ki lo yoyel b'yom HaShabbos Kodesh, Kamoy Kos Medrash Rabbah. That's Mavur in the Medrash. Kamoy Kain, he said, Hu b'chol Rosh Hashanah, the halayla shebein beis hayomim hu kayom yo. That's what it was like then. He was going into Shabbos, so that was the night that was between when he was created and the next day. So that means that the first night, the first night of Rosh Hashanah, it is like a little bit of darkness, and that's why on the first night of Rosh Hashanah the Rebbeinu used to be tremendously marich in Tefillah and the whole thing, because the first night there is a Helen Vester. The first night of Shabbos, maybe we'll talk about that later on, there is a certain Helen on the first night. But once we get to the Tkiyas, as I write the Ramaz over there also, he writes that. Once you get to the Tkiyas, then the Tkiyas bring down everything, they bring down a whole new Seder, they reach Atzvah, so they bring down Rachamim, Gedolim. But from then on, it can't get dark anymore, because the Gilui HaMahus has taken place. So the night between the two, in other words, the second night of Rosh Hashanah, running into the second day of Rosh Hashanah, that remains day, and even though it might appear to get night, it doesn't really. I say that's what he writes out there, the Ramaz. He said, Beis Yomid of Dalayla Shem Beis Hayomim Hu Kayom Yo Yir. V'Inyan, he said, Hu Kiyadua Dalayla Hu B'chinas Malchus. Yeah, the whole Indian of Laila is the Indian of Malchus, the Hainu. Yeah, the Malchus literally makes a Hillam into the elements which are being makablim from it, because it doesn't give over only a Ha'or there. The Ha'or and the Hillam Behester of Malchus, the Hillam Behester of Beira Me'anivra. Yeah, therefore Laila is the Indian for Malchus. So Meira al-Bechinas HaHillam Behester, the Bechinas Malchus, B'Kteishi Yucholiyes, his others, as we said before. First of all, there had to be the Indian from Helem V'Tzimtzum, the Indian from darkness, Vayhi Boiker, and like we touched earlier, we brought the Gemara in the sector Shabbos, the Bechinas Briosei Shel Olam, just like the creation of the world, Bereishah Chasheicha, at the beginning darkness, V'Hadana Hoira, but after that there was light, canal. Avol B'Yom de Rosh Hashanah. Once we've already got over that, the night of Rosh Hashanah, the first night, Ein Nachanami, is like that. Avol B'Yom de Rosh Hashanah, Shemei B'chinas Mahus Ve'atzmas Ein, and the Ramaz is Masber, that comes mitzad the Tekiya Shofar, Oz Gamalayla Kayom Yoyer. When we move into the next night, which is the night between the two nights of Rosh Hashanah themselves, then Laila Kayom Yoyer, Shalo Yesh Bechinas Helen Vahester. Not only Ein Helen Vahester, Elul, Lo Yesh, there is absolutely no Helen Vahester, Ki Im Shemei Bechinas Mahus, Oirein Sei, Begilui, Mami. Amamela Vezeu Ayem Shekulei Yom. He said, therefore Rosh Hashanah is Yom Shekulei Yom. Peledik is that. Who? Yom, he said, Yom Shekulei Yom V'Gilui. Who Tchilas Ma'asecha. That's the beginning of all your deeds. So we see a most amazing Nakuda that the night joining the two Rosh Hashanahs together is really a day. It's not a night per cloud. It's only near a kach of the Pnimis Hainin is that it's Laila Kayom Yoir. But it's also brought down there in the Hemshech, at the Zohar Kodesh over there in Parsha Boi, that was also the case by the, if you don't mind sitting up more when we learn, I like people laying back on a couch when we're learning. It's brought down when we get to the night of Pesach. There's a whole Sifra from the Rebbe about it, that since they made Mila on the night of Pesach, if it was really light, then you can't make Mila by day. I'm sorry, you can't make Mila by night. But if it was still day, then they could make Mila. And a whole sort of view and a whole people from the Rebbe and the Gerlinian there, and other inyanim, that on the night of Pesach it was also the same thing. However, and that's why it's brought down that you should stay up the whole night if you can. If you've got the koiches after the Leil Seder, you don't have to worry and everything with the whole arichas advarim when you get to the Leil HaSeder.
Full moon. Full moon. Pesach is a full moon on Pesach.
Oh yeah, Pesach is a full moon. But Rosh Hashanah is not like that. Yeah. This is what we're going to deal with now. Is it comes to but that's an even greater chiddush. Maybe when it's already the middle of Lavona, that's another matter. Over here we're talking about mamish, that the Lavona's mamish, its moment of birth, and yet nonetheless you've got this whole unbelievable inyan. And so the ikir, it's mashma over there in the Mukubalim, that's mitzad, and also in Siddur, that's mitzad the great avodah of Tkiyah Shofar, that's the great Ula Tkiyah Shofar, that it reaches, despite the lack of Gilui, it reaches the Amitis Mokir of all the Gilui and brings the Gilui into, as the Inif and Shofar, such a high Madrega, it's such a high Koyach that it reaches into Atzma. So just very briefly, what did he mean by saying that Rosh Hashanah was Kiyom Arich Damya? Well, those of you who learned Masechta Beta, did anybody, any of you guys learned the Masechta Beta? Anyway, it's Mavur over there, Barich is going to get to the difference between Rosh Hashanah and the other Moedim. Well, anyway, suffice it to say that Rosh Hashanah could be, and in most cases was, and the Alter Rebbe brings down in Lakutei Torah in the Maim of Lahovin Mashenema B'Mishnah, but Yontov Shel Rosh Hashanah Shel Chal Yesh B'Shabbos. In that Maimah in Lakutei Torah, the Alter brings over there that Rosh Hashanah le'olam beis yomim afilu b'zman shebeis hamikdash kayim. In other words, that usually Rosh Hashanah, even in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, was 2 days, and it's obvious if it was, because the shluchim have to come and tell the Bezdin that they saw the Levana. And then as soon as they said that they saw the Levana, then the Bet said, well, today is Yom Tov. In the other cases, they say that today is Rosh Chodesh, and then they got 2 weeks to tell, or in Sivan they got 6 days to tell the Goyla and to inform them that they've made this day Rosh Chodesh, so they were able to count and know what it's going to be. But there were certain parts of the Goyla that were so far away that they couldn't inform them either. They had to make 2 days because they weren't sure what day the Beis Din had been Mekadesh Rosh Chodesh. Over here, the moment that the Eidim arrive, it's already Yom Tov. Immediately the Eidim come, it's already Yom Tov. You can't inform anybody. And therefore, even in Eretz Yisrael, outside the Tchum, around Jerusalem, couldn't inform anybody because the Eidim can't go outside the Tchum, or the Shluchei HaBezdin. They can't go outside the Tchum. So everybody in Eretz Yisrael also didn't know. And therefore, they had to keep 2 days because they didn't know, whether today was Rosh Hashanah or it's going to be tomorrow. Because nobody could know except the people in the Beis Din, in the Etzem Tchum of Yerushalayim itself. But the difficulty is that even that was also usually or often not the case. Because what happened was, the Gemara tells the story in Masech Tes that once it happened, the whole thing that the Eidim came, they used to hope that the Eidim would come before the Tomid Shel Bein HaRaboim, but that's our Zman for Mincha. And if they came before the Tomid Shel Bein HaRaboim, then everything was fine, because then the Nevi'im, the Leviim, had a special shir that they say every day, so they would say the normal shir for that day, and then afterwards we declare that it would be Rosh Hashanah. But what happened was, one time the Eidim came after the Korban, and the Nevi'im were in this calcul of Bashir. They already said the shir. It just shows you how serious these things are taken in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. They had already said the shir from the ordinary day, but the shir for Rosh Hashanah, it's another day. It's another etiquette. So the far what happened was that the Levim had already said the shir of the normal day, and now the Eidim come along and they said that today is Rosh Hashanah. And therefore the Beis Din said, what are we going to do? We can't. So they made a takona that if the Eidim came after the Tomid Shel Bein HaRaboim, they wouldn't receive them. In order not to cause what's called a kilkul in the shir of the Leviim, therefore they made a takana that they would only receive the Eidim the next day. So that means that this whole day should have been Rosh Hashanah, but it really wasn't. And that happened quite a lot, it appears. That they used to come late there because they used to see the Elul, and then they'd come a long distance to tell the Beis Din, so it got late by day, until they told them. They made a takona that they're not going to receive the Eidim after Hamincha. After Hamincha, lo yikablu Eidim, they only take them the next day. So the next day was Rosh Hashanah. And that was Rosh Hashanah Min HaTorah, which means that this whole day they were waiting for the Eidim to come, and they didn't keep, they kept Rosh Hashanah. They didn't do any malachas or anything like that because they expected the Eidim would come. So that had already been Rosh Hashanah, whether they wanted it or not. Oh, that was Rosh Hashanah Min Divrei Sefer, and the next day is Rosh Hashanah Min HaTorah. So it's a little bit round the other way. Instead of being but all the people in Eretz Yisrael, they don't know what's going on, so they have to keep the first day and then they have to keep the second day. Zayvazin that pink was goes on. So that means that everywhere outside Yerushalayim it was always 2 days. Even in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, Rosh Hashanah, but it was already 2 days because of this whole thing. And inside Yerushalayim, it really came out that there were 2 days that were just like 1 day. They were waiting the whole day for the Eidim to come, and then the Eidim came, and they put off to listen to the Eidim until the next morning, which means it was really like one long day of Rosh Hashanah, and there was no real break. Therefore the Gemara says that Rosh Hashanah really, the Pnimis in the honor is Yom HaArichta, like one long day. So the Chiddush of the Ramaz over there, you see, I think this great Mekaboyim, right? They're just pilipois. So he says that if that's like that in Halacha, Yom HaArichta Dam here, then that's what it is in Pnimis. It's like one long day, which means that it never really gets night. And was it a pshat? He writes over there before the Ramaz. That's a pshat Zeh HaYoim, and he brings down. It's Mamish Apillah. And that's this week's Pasha. He brings down the Atem Nitzovim HaYoim, and the Zohar Kodesh says over there that HaYoim Stam is Rosh Hashanah. So he said, how come HaYoim is Rosh Hashanah? Yeah, we just learned in the last year of Klogah, the HaYom can mean today everything's new, all sorts of things. And yet there's certain places in the Torah where he touch it, HaYoim means Rosh Hashanah. So the Ramah says, why does HaYoim mean Rosh Hashanah? He said, because the whole of Rosh Hashanah is HaYoim. The whole of Rosh Hashanah is today. It's like one long day, and it's Gilui, just like Yom is Gilui, and it's all one day, and it's all one Gilui Elikus. That's what Ramah says. That's what the Rebbe said. The Rosh Hashanah is different than all the Yom Tovim in the 2 days. It's really one long kedusha. So my nafkamina, the nafkamina is that in the Chutz La'aretz, in the second Yom Tov, if a beta, if an egg, that's why it's a second beta. If an egg is born on Monday, it's mutter the next day, because the next day is only a chumrah mit the Rabbanan. Even though it's mutter on Yom Tov, it's mutter on the Yom Tov Sheni. But if we say that Rosh Hashanah is all one long day, then the beta was born on the first day is mutter. On Rosh Hashanah it remains mutter the second day, because they're all long one long day. You can't say it's like 2 days. It's all one long day. And therefore, the halacha, the beta shamil the Yom Tov Rishon shel Rosh Hashanah asura gam b'Yom Tov Sheni. It's a fascinating nafkamina gam le halacha b'poya.
So why do they still make like the night prayers? Why do they still make the night prayers and
night prayers?
Night prayers are being
yeah, that's a good question. So we should buy all this one long shabbos, you say? Yeah. So that's a tight in Pnimis, is it? In other words, even when you're davening Mariv, you're really davening a type of lichtiker Mariv. So you're davening a sort of a shacharis type of Mariv. And the Far, no, it's not a question. The Far, the Rebbe Rashab and the other our Rebbeim in general didn't used to talk on Rosh Hashanah. The Rebbe used to be very mamayat on the first night of Rosh Hashanah, but he did talk by the Suda. He would answer if people. The Rebbe Rashab, no. He would not answer, and he wouldn't talk at all. It was just complete utter silence on Rosh Hashanah by day. On the second night, he doesn't marry normal. When I say normally, he doesn't marry with everybody. On the first night, he done about 4 hours or something. Married. Some huge long time. It was unbelievable b'chiyas and all sorts of unbelievable things. Even the Friedrich of it, those who saw him, said it was just frightening to see it, how he done marry on the first night. Oh, the second night it was already very, very different. The second night they were very, sort of much more approachable. It was also pretty oriented, but it was, very different. The Rebbe Rashab would answer questions, and he would refer to things on the second night. On the first night, the whole day. So that means that it's already, it's already a different bechina altogether. Even though you don't marry, you got a good point. If it's really day, what are you doing? So that's in Pnimis Ainin. That's an akud. Anyway, says the Rebbe, as follows what he said, that's the Inin from Zeh, Hayoim, Zeh, that's the Inin of Kula Yayim Vagilui Vahu Tchilas Ma Secha. That is the beginning of all your deeds. Pirush Tchilas Ma Secha. What does it mean, the beginning of all your deeds? The beginning was on Kofei Be Elul. What do you mean, beginning? Tchilas Ma Secha. So he teaches, Hainu Tachlis HaKavona, Shu Tchilas HaMachshova. What is Machshova? So the Rebbe teaches now a new dera, which we had it in Samech Tes, for those who learned with us the beginning of Samech Tes. But the Rebbe said that the word Tchilo has in itself two ideas. The word Tchilo means the beginning of an order of things, beginning, Tchilo. Or the Tchilo can also mean what you might call the real beginning, or how would you say, the source in Pnimius of the Inyan, Tchilo, its whole beginning. So therefore the Rebbe says that here the word Tchilo doesn't just mean the beginning in order, but it means the Tachlis and the Pnimius of the Kavona. And therefore he said that means Tchilo Sama Shova. In other words, what the Eibishter had in mind in the whole Bria, when he began the whole Inyan of creation, well, that expresses itself and comes out into Gilui on the 6th day of creation, which is Rosh Hashanah, the day in which man was created. And therefore that's the beer, that's not a stira to the concept of Kofei Ve'el and Nivroim, and that's the beginning, because the word Tchila here doesn't really mean the beginning of a Seder, but the beginning meaning like the beginning point of everything. The whole purpose And the whole inner kavona in the breeze v'savas oilam is hula hamshik gila elakus po oilam. The whole idea is to bring down gila elakus into the world. In other words, that as we saw, Kofei be'el etzem creation was only an approximation, it was only koi, and it was helenbe hester avoda me'anivra. The whole purpose, however, was not that. The ultimate purpose was there should be gilui and hamshocha of Elokus into the world, dafke, and not stam Elokus, but the mochi v'shoyros of Malchus should be gilui in the world, and that was the ultimate purpose. Yeah, and dafke b'olam atachtein, not only in stam in the world, but dafke in olam atachtein, ukamaima, as the famous statement of the Medrash, Nisava HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyus lo dira batach, toinim, that the Eibishter's will was that he should have a dira. In other words, gilui, a dira means that he enters the dira, he enters, and he reveals himself in the lowest of all places, in the tatoinim, dosa da ganze kavona, and that's the tchila, that is the purest of the word tchila. Therefore, zeh hayoyim, on this day of Rosh Hashanah, which is zeh, its Indian is Gila Elokus, it's the fulfillment of the whole tachlis of Ma'asecha. All the Eivish's deeds were there in order to lead to that. And therefore, that's the Indian of our statement, Zeh hayoyim tchilas Ma'asecha. So, Sha'odam hu tachlis hapriya, and that's why it is that the mensch, he is the ultimate tachlis of the whole creation, because his whole Indian is to bring down, and he's the one who can do that. All the other creations, with all their milas, and with all the greatness in them, they don't have the ability to be mamshich to even the malachim. The malachim, they have a certain appreciation of it, and they serve the Eibush each in their own madrega. But their Indian is not to be megala or mamshich elakus lamata into the Eilam HaTachton. Well, that is done only by the Odom. Therefore, the Odom who tachlisa habriya ukamesh kasuv. This is a pasuk in Yeshayahu Hanavi. Anoichi asisi eretz v'Odom aleya bo barosi. That he said, I, Anoichi, meaning the very essence of the Eibush. Like we point out in reference to Matan Torah, begins with the word Anoichi. That's indicatory of the etzem meaning of Lakus. The Eibush, how he is mamish patzmusay. Anoichi atzmusay seif osisi eretz, made the physical earth. The Odom aleh barose, and I created a man upon it. So he said, eretz koilo kol tzvaha oret. That eretz not only means just the actual ground itself, and just the actual planet, but it means all the creatures and all the species all over the whole earth. The eretz for koilo kol tzvaha oret. Yesh lema, and we could suggest shekoil gam tzvaha shor mayim, all the planets, all the heavenly bodies and all the planets and all the galaxies and all those masses. How do we know that? Ukamaima, the statement has it in says it Medrash Chazal. Hakoil hoyu minha offer. Everything came from the dust. So all the heavenly bodies are all made out of dust. They all got some connection with the Indian from offer. Therefore, the Indian from eretz, meaning the physical world, can be koilo. Most of the tzvah hashor mayim as well as the tzvah ha'oretz. In other words, that I made all these different worlds. Says the Eibishter, asisi eretz, and what I did all that, who bishvil, it's for the sake of the Adam. Or Adam oloya barasi, or barasi, it's well known, bigimatria tariyag. The whole word barasi is indicatory of the task of the Adam. He's planted by the Eibishter on this amazing creation of Kol Tzvah Shamayim. And what's his whole tachlis is barasi. He was created by Hashem. Nilmaz, in that word barasi, his ultimate tachlis, which is tar yag. Okay, Maimon, as a famous statement of Rashi, what Rashi brings, it's a statement of the Medrash. Rashi brings it right at the beginning of his Pirush al Chumash. Bereshis. The word Bereshis is base ratius. The word Bereshis means two beginnings. בשביל ישראל שנקראים רשת, ובשביל התורה שנקראת רשת. In other words, the Medrash says that base ratios, that the world was created with two beginning points or two ultimate purposes. One is the neshamas of the Eden, begufim, and that's Yisrael, and the second is the Torah. Now it's interesting that we put Yisrael with Naya Torah, because ultimately the neshamas are even higher than the actual shorosh of the Torah. And they are the ultimate task. Through the what mensch serves the Eibishter, and he does his avodah, mamshik gilei alakus bo'ilom, he brings down gilei alakus into the olam atachta in shezeu tachlis hakavona. That is the ultimate of all purposes. V'zeh hu zeh hayoim. This is the union of, this is the day, the Rosh Hashanah, which is Yom Broi Adam Harishon, the day of the creation of Adam Harishon, Hu Tchilas Ma'a Secha. That is the ultimate kavanah and the ultimate machshava that the Eibishter had in all of his deed, all of his makings. Sha'adam Mamshik B'chinas Zeh, that he brings down the union of Zeh. So we see that in that pasuk, or that statement of the Musaf, of Rosh Hashanah, everything is hidden. Zeh Hayom means Zeh, the day of Rosh Hashanah, the day of Gilui Elokus, Gilui Atzmus Lamata, and who does that? Dafki the union of the Adam, and Dafki that's Tchilas Masach, that's a Kavanah. Sha'adam Mamshi B'chinas Zeh, B'chinas Gilui Amahus, Shezeu Tachlis Haka, and remember, that's the ultimate purpose of the whole creation, and that's Dafki there on Rosh Hashanah. The end of Rosh Hashanah is the day where all the tachlisim and all the ultimate purposes come together, and therefore it's the union of the reish of all the days of the year. The Elul Zochino, and if we will have the Mirtzim the schools, and we will be worthy, even if we won't be worthy, but somehow or another we'll manage to shrei that we want it. Is the Beis Hashem will have on this Rosh Hashanah. We'll have the Gilui Hamahus, Elakus Lamata, and Beis Hashem it will be Zeh Hayoim. This will be the day, and there will be the Gilui of Zeh Lamata, and there will be instead of people being Mekayim the mitzvah from the Hakel in Beis Rabbeinu Asher B'Bavel, then we'll be able to be Mekayim mitzvahs Hakel. Well, it's one of the mitzvahs Hatluyas Ba'oretz, and not only Ba'oretz, it's totally in the Inif and Binyan Beis Hamikdash. We'll be able to be Mekayim the mitzvah from Hakel in the Beis Hamikdash, but that's the Inif and Hakel Kipshutai, Omen Kain Yehi, Rotzain, and it should be already, how do you call it, old news by the time we get to being Mekayim Hakel, that the Gula Shlem has already been and the Beis Hamikdash is already there, Begoloi, Dira Betach, Twain. Okay, so we'll try and get these guys and we'll try and make them in and out from By the way, was there a minyan in the morning for Slichas?
Yeah.
It was okay? It was a minyan?